going to talk to somebody to be uncomfortable and talk about my feelings and be able to cry in front of them if something's bothering me, like I am now in front of you guys. I don't like doing this. I'm a man. I shouldn't, that's how, we're brought up to be, but I can't be like that. It gets me nowhere. I don't want to be like that. I'd rather be like this and feel it than not feel it.
I personally respect his vulnerability, but I always have the question, is it somehow manipulation? Is it authentic? Is it rock bottom? We're about to see the parole hearing for a man who has just been in and out of prison throughout his entire life. All the details will fall in line at the hearing, so let's just jump in.
David Garceau, 264-063.
This hearing is being conducted in consideration of the parole application for David Garceau, inmate number 264-063. He is serving a sentence of 3 years jail for violation of probation with underlying offense of attempted robbery second and larceny fifth. As of today, records reflect a parole eligibility date of April 2nd, 2025. There is no victim input in this case. There is an offender accountability plan for the offender. Mr. Garceau has maintained employment in the kitchen and was recently placed in maintenance. He has completed Tier 2, Good Intentions, Bad Choices, Voices, and Smart Recovery. Utilizing the statewide collaborative offender risk evaluation system, the offender's whole house score on the SR2 falls within the moderate range of risk for recidivism. This is your opportunity to express to the board why you believe you should be granted parole. You may begin.
Hello. For me, I feel, I should be granted parole. I've taken this time here over the last 14 months to dig into myself and see what the real problem is. I'm sorry, I get emotional. Since I've been here, my son passed away, my oldest son, 24 years old, from a motorcycle accident. My 6-year-old son, he, asks for me every single day. I talk to him. My 17-year-old daughter, they want their father home. I've battled with drugs, a long time in my life, but I've never really taken the time to understand why or even look into it. The deep issues that I keep going back to drugs, just to try and numb myself and not feel, feelings or pain or whatever hard is going on in my life. I ran to drugs instead of dealing with it. This time I've been, I've taken these programs and listened and paid attention and, taken in what these classes have to offer and utilizing and listening made me think about things in my life and how I want to change, how I want to change for my children, how I want to be a better person in society and not keep continuing this. 45 years old, and this is not how I want my life to go. I want to live the rest of my life a good person, a good father, where my kids aren't, disappointed in me. My son goes to school and the kids ask him, "Where's your daddy?" And he says he's in jail, and then he gets made fun of. It hurts. It hurts. And I'm disappointed. I'm, for the woman that, this incident happened with, nobody should have to feel like, there's somebody gonna come and try and rob them or, or do anything like that when you go into an ATM. When she's got to look behind her back, I feel sorry. Like, it's not who I want to be. And this time it's hit me real hard. I don't know, because of my age or just because I've taken this time to work on myself. I've built relationships, in the community, and I keep in contact with people that are in sobriety, because the year before I came in was probably my worst year ever. Getting divorced, my mother got ran over by a vehicle. I witnessed somebody get decapitated on the highway on a motorcycle accident, and it was just too much for me. And that, you know, I ended up relapsing. Bad choices. I didn't reach out to people that I should have reached out to that had their hand out waiting for me. You know, I did the tier 2 program. I wanted to get into the C car because I like to help other people. They had one class here, but they didn't continue it after the last graduation. But I got the guy's name that ran the program, Richard, and he's out of Hartford, and I have his card. So I plan on contacting him and staying in contact with a recovery coach from McCall Behavioral Health in Torrington.
Mhm.
I had a recovery coach. She wrote a good letter for me.
Yeah.
I do have employment upon release. That's one thing I've always had is my work ethic is very good. You know, I have strong supports outside with my family, friends of mine. So that's all I have.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Garceau, for your statement. We do have questions for you, and when we're done with our questions, we'll deliberate and give you our decision. We'll begin with my colleague, Ms. Zakosasu.
Good morning.
Good morning.
So, you know, you've given us a lot in your opening statement, and I'm not going to have you go back through all of the criminal issues and the convictions that led us here, but I am going to use it as a starting point.
Okay.
You were on probation at the time of this offense. Your record, we have it all. It goes back decades to when you were young. This is the 11th time you've been in jail, and you have 24 prior convictions. So on paper, you know, that's a concern for us. So that's why it's so important for us to listen to where you are now. And what I want to do is not spend a lot of time on what's happened. I want to focus on the future, because I think sometimes people do have to hit rock bottom before they can rebuild. And honestly, Mr. Garceau, it sounds like that's where you've been for a while. The one thing that I want to get out of the way is that you had previously, in the police report and in some other reports that we read, you had stated that you were actually playing a joke on the person at the ATM, that you thought it was someone you knew. Are you now acknowledging that that was something that you were purposefully doing?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and that was, you were under the influence, or you were trying to get money so that you could continue to use at that point?
Correct.
Okay, so you're remorseful, and you acknowledge that that was something that was very uncomfortable for this person to go through.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay. So moving forward, you did get a very good recommendation from the tier 2 counselor that was included in your packet. I've seen that you have a promise of employment from MJM. The one concern that I have about that, if that is still part of your release plan, is the length of the commute. Is that something that you're going to be able to handle from Torrington to Stamford?
Yes, ma'am. I'm used to traveling for work. I used to drive to New York every day, upstate New York, to go to work, different jobs. So it's a part of my career. So yes, I'm okay with that.
Okay, and to just stay on the release plan for a few moments, your plan that was documented in the report that we received from the parole officer was that you want to go to your mother in Torrington or a halfway house.
Preferably my mother. She's still dealing with issues, surgeries and stuff from her incident that happened last year or the year before. It's going on 2 years now. She's older in age. She lives by herself, and she would like me to come home and try and help her out, So I would love to be able to do that for her,
Okay, and just to color the rest of your support dynamic, we did also receive a letter from your fiance.
Yes. No,
Okay.
that's actually from Filipino.
Yeah.
That's my ex-wife.
Oh.
That's my ex-wife.
So you have community support, and can you just kind of go through, in addition to your mother and your ex-wife, who else is in the mix for you in terms of community supports?
So I stay in contact with a couple guys that are in recovery. There's somebody that had left here went to a halfway house, and he's very big into the C-car, which I really want to get into, because helping other people in recovery helps me stay positive and clean, being around it. So I would like, to incorporate that. And I've been wanting to do it, but obviously being out there and messed up at the time, it's really not a thought. Now that I'm clean and sober, I want to go and I want to try and, put my all into it. So I just stay connected. And plus I need, another plan for me is to my therapist to talk to.
Are you referencing work that you've set up to do with McCall, or is that separate from that?
Yeah, so that would be like, I'd have my job, but I want to, like offer my time to try and I want to get into the field somehow of recovery in some aspect. I would like to do that. And
Okay,
whether it's
so-
going through McCall or C-car to get my foot in the door to do that, that's what I want to do.
Okay, but separate from that, you're going to pursue outpatient therapy in the community for yourself.
I have to. Yes, absolutely. That's
Okay.
one of the biggest thing for me.
Thank you for that clarification. I noticed that you did have a period of sobriety that lasted over 5 years at one point. What was going on there in terms of support and employment that you managed to do that? Can you just talk about that a little bit?
Everything seemed to, I came home from jail, I was sober in jail, but then when I came home from jail, everything was good. I had a good head on my shoulders. I knew where I wanted to go. I made it happen by utilizing what I had learned, by talking to people. When I use drugs, I shut everybody out. I don't talk to nobody. And that's what leads up to using the drugs, is when I start shutting people out. And, like going to my mother's or seeing my mother every day. If I don't call my mother every day, she calls me and she knows that I'm about to mess up, or, that I'm an open book when it comes to that. Everybody sees it before me, so if it's brought to my attention, then I'm going to take that opportunity to use it and look back at myself and say, damn, like, you need to work on this. And another, I've never journaled in my life. And through the SMART recovery, they had, suggested to journal and write down these 4 things, like how you're feeling spiritually, mentally, emotionally, and physically. I do that every day. And at night I go over it again and see if there's anything that's wrong in my day, and then how I can fix it for the next day, and it's worked for me. And I've been doing it for the last 4 months. I've filled up 4 binders already, composition books with just my daily things that are going through my mind and how I'm feeling. It keeps me centered.
In the letter that we received from your counselor at McCall, she referenced that you're mentoring fellow inmates.
So they don't have AA or NA in here at Walker. So we get together, there's like 4 or 5 of us that get together once a week, and we sit down and we talk. We go through each other's week, see how we're doing. We check in with each other, as well as every day, like every day before we go to work or whatever. How are you? 5 people came to my cell this morning. Good luck, and it feels good to have that.
So if there's no formal program at Walker, how did that come to be, this group that you're part of?
So it came out of like the tier 2. We were doing tier 2, and then just the guys that we were in there with, we ended up saying it'd be good for us. Just another part to get out of your comfort zone and to get you familiar with it. So.
If you were granted release, there's going to be a period of supervision that's attached to this. Your record for previous community supervision has not been stellar. Can you talk a little bit about how maybe your mindset has changed about that and how you would use them as a resource?
Yeah, like I said, if I have anything going on, I want to be truthful and honest with everybody and anybody, because if I stay quiet, then I'm gonna, I have the chance of going back and doing the same thing that I've been doing. My children are my biggest thing. With my son passing and me not being able to be there to go and see him, because he lives in Florida. Well, he lived in Florida. It was the most hurtful thing that I've ever been through. I felt worthless, and because I couldn't be there for him. And then my youngest, he just every single day, Daddy, I just want you to come home. He's a daddy's boy. Everything with him. We've lived together. So I'm all he knows, and he's lost without me. I'm lost without him. So I never want to make my children and family feel like this ever again, ever.
And I think that that's great motivation for you. So my last question along these lines is, have you identified potential triggers and risks once you're out in the community that could put all of this on the line for you and for your son?
Absolutely. Just not continuing with my care. Going to meetings, I have to go to meetings. Going to talk to somebody, to be uncomfortable and talk about my feelings and be able to cry in front of them if something's bothering me, like I am now in front of you guys. I don't like doing this. I'm a man. I shouldn't, that's how, we're brought up to be, but I can't be like that. It gets me nowhere. I don't want to be like that. I'd rather be like this and feel it than not feel it.
Okay, well, I think you've done a good job so far this morning. So I don't want you to think that the fact that you're confronting some of this and you're emotional about it is in any way an emasculating type thing. I think you needed to get to this point, but it did bring another question to mind, and then I will pass it on to my colleagues. Your use of alcohol, marijuana, and cocaine, just so that we have a clear picture of who you are today and where you've come from. What started you using? Was there a seminal event? Was there just something? And at what age did that become a major part of your life? Help us understand your story.
My father was an alcoholic. I grew up around it. My first beer was, I took it off the table while, he was sitting around, and then just growing up. He was absent most of my life, in trouble, and unfortunately I ended up taking that path, and had made these bad choices and not talking. My biggest thing is not talking about my problems, not talking about my life growing up, which I think is a big root of, how I've been, just trying to mask my problems by getting high and not think about things, So I need to get to the root of that and talk about it. And a therapist for me is what I need.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that.
Thank you.
Mr. Paul?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Morning, Mr. Garceau.
Good morning.
So I'm sorry about your son.
Thank you.
And I'm really glad that you've engaged in recovery the way you have. And it's something what we do up here.
Yes.
And being a man, where do we get that from? Right?
Yeah.
So it really is about redefining that. And that our manhood isn't defined by not asking for help We're not looking at where we need support. Things like that. You know, good on you for putting a coach in your life. I don't know if you've experienced it before, but AA, NA, and SMART are also online.
Yes.
So, you know, there's a lot of people in my morning meeting that are commuting. They just tune in, you know, so you hear that positive topic and what's going on for the day. And it's the same thing at night. You know, there's meetings online all the time.
Okay.
You know, so that's something else you might want to put in your toolkit there.
Absolutely. I appreciate that.
And you're right. You don't get high and drunk by what you do. Get high and drunk by what you don't do.
Absolutely.
So if I were able to give you one thing to leave here with, it's don't ever stop doing what you're doing.
When you stop, just when I get in trouble.
So,
Thank you.
absolutely. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Mr. Garceau, when is the last time you used?
It is November 7th of last year. The day before, the night of, when I got picked up for the violation of probation.
Okay. November 7th.
Not last year.
You mean 23? Yeah.
Yes,
You mean
I'm sorry.
23? Yeah. I got it. November 7th of 2023. Okay. So you have a little over a year under your belt.
Yes, ma'am.
You've taken these I looked at your case history because you've been in and out, you know, you've taken these programs before. Did you learn anything new this time around?
I think I've grown inside because I've paid more attention to, not necessarily that I've learned more. I've paid attention more and I want it more this time. I took them, you know, back then just to take them and go home. I never utilized
Yeah.
them. I never really listened in them. And I think that's why I feel the way I feel today, because I think about it every single day. You know, it's reality. It's reality to me, you know, and it's reality to me every day when I call home and my son keeps asking me the same thing and I can't give him an answer.
Yeah.
You know, it just hurts. It's drilled into me every single day in everything that I do. So
Okay.
with that, I mean, that's probably the biggest thing for me is I've
Okay.
taken everything.
Understood. Now, you've had numerous violations of TS and parole, so they're all with a parole officer. Were you utilizing that officer as a support?
Absolutely not.
I'm assuming they were all drug related, right? Because they're
Yes.
technical in nature, so you probably
Yeah.
relapse every time. So have you ever had a relationship with a parole officer where you called them and said, hey, I'm struggling, I need help?
No, I didn't.
You need to do that.
Absolutely.
You know, it's their job to help you. They don't want to bring you back. We have enough business. We don't need any more. It's their job to help you, and you have to use them as a resource. Okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, give us a few minutes to discuss your case, and we'll come back to you shortly with our decision.
Yes, ma'am.
Apple Sassy.
Yes. As you can see from the criminal history, this has been a problem that has dodged Mr. Garceau his entire life almost. However, today I feel that he's done the work and is starting to control his narrative as opposed to allowing the substances to control his narrative. He does have a release plan that's realistic to go to his mother. He has community support. He has a verified letter of employment. He set himself up for potentially involving himself with McCall. He's acknowledged the need for counseling and outside programs upon release. And he's taken responsibility for the impact on the victim of the crime. And now we've just seen that he's also acknowledged the role of community supervision moving forward. So I would support a grant of parole today, and I have 3 conditions and a question on a 4th.
What are your conditions?
No alcohol consumption.
Yeah.
There is the no contact with victim, initials SA, mental health evaluation, and then I just had a question on the driving one.
What do you mean there's a no contact with victim SA?
The person is listed from the ATM.
Oh, the underlying, I mean, that's not an existing,
That was
it's not
my
a current
question.
offense, so yeah.
So-
And I'm sorry, what's the other one?
I forgot to ask the status of his driver's license. Have a
So
driver's license?
can I speak on that?
Yeah.
Right, so before I had came in, my license has been suspended for 20 years. I worked hard. When I was home, I worked hard. They finally gave me my license back. I was to have a breathalyzer in my vehicle for a year, but I ended up coming in jail. So as soon as I go home, I have to have the breathalyzer put back in a vehicle and they reinstate my license back. And
Okay.
so I have to have the interlock in my vehicle.
So we'll do
As
without
soon-
PO's permission, as soon as we have it installed.
Yep.
Yeah,
Okay,
I'll
so
bring
no
it. I'll give the
alcohol, no
paperwork.
driving without PO. What was your third?
Mental health evaluation.
I mean, we've been doing a lot of those and it's something they could do on their own. It was not recommended for him. So I would rather not.
It's actually connected with the fall.
Yeah, he's
Yeah.
already kind of set it up.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mr. Pohl, sorry.
Aye.
Yeah, okay, all right. In the matter of David Garceau, MA number 264063, I'll move to grant parole. Was it April 2nd?
Yes.
April 2nd, effective April 2nd, 2025, with the following additional conditions. No alcohol consumption and no driving without your parole officer's permission. Is there a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, sir, we wish you the best. Keep working.
Thank you so much.
This concludes the hearing for David Garceau, MD number 264063.
Okay, so they granted parole, and this hearing took place January 10th, 2025. It's May 29th, 2025 at the time that I'm doing this recording. And the the software you use to check on his status shows that he's still locked up. It actually puts him at a different facility than he was then when he had this parole hearing. I'm pretty confused by that. Did he somehow, they can rescind parole hearings. They'll have rescind hearings. I don't see it in the spreadsheet. I don't know. Sometimes maybe the software is just not up to date. I can't quite figure that out, but it doesn't say that he's released. But what did you think about the hearing? We're going to see a hearing after this, and it falls in the return of playlist because we're going to see the guy twice back to back. So make sure to stick around to the end. But I think it was rock bottom. It felt to me like rock bottom. I thought that it was authentic. It's got to imagine it's hard to cry when you're in prison. You got to hold all those emotions in, and then to let it go. It seemed real to me. We're not accustomed to seeing it. See it very, 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 very rarely, right? The whole, I don't know. He's got, as you heard, all those felonies, all those arrests, years of. Is he finally done? Like, is he actually finally done? We'll find out, I guess, eventually, because if he does come back, he will be in the return of playlist. But for now, let's jump into this next hearing.
Ryan Nunes, 435-755.
This hearing is being conducted in consideration of the parole application for Ryan Nunes, 435-755. He is serving a sentence of 6 years, execution suspended after 3.5 years with 3 years probation to follow for 2 counts of larceny second, stealing a firearm, and violation of probation for larceny third. As of today, records reflect the eligibility date of July 27, 2024 at 50%. There is no victim input in this case. There's an offender accountability plan for the offender. It has been reviewed and shows the offender has completed the following programs: Tier 2 and Unlock Your Thinking, utilizing the statewide collaborative offender risk evaluation system, the offender overall score on the SRT falls within the very high range of risk for recidivism. Mr. Nunes, this is your opportunity to express to the board why you believe you should be granted parole. You may begin.
Hi, my name is Ryan, and these past 2 years, I have learned a lot, and I have grown a lot in here, and I understand my actions had hurt people, and I just want to change so I don't hurt nobody else.
Okay. Is that everything, Mr. Nunes?
Yes.
All right, so what we're going to do today is take turns asking you questions that we've developed based on the documents that we read. And then after we finish the questions, we're going to discuss your case and you'll have our decision. Are you ready to begin?
Yes.
So we'll start with my colleague, panel member Page.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So, Mr. Nunes, your opening statement was interesting because you said that you finally get it, and I'm trying to figure out when.
Repeat that again. I didn't hear you.
In your opening statement, you shared that you were finally starting to get it, and I'm trying to figure out when you started to get it.
I started to get it when a lot of older people was telling me, showing me the other hand of how if it happened to me, how I would feel about it.
Right. So can I just share with you, I understand that you don't have a lot of support in the community. In fact, I wrote you have no community support, but you're 23 years old. You have convictions in Massachusetts, Rhode Island, and Connecticut. You were on probation when you committed this offense for less than a year out of the 2 years, and you come back with a violation shortly after you return to the community. You accumulated 6 disciplinary infractions this big. And you did take some good program. You took tier 2 and unlocked your thinking. And well, you told the officer also that you took voices and anger management, but we don't have record of that. But you're accumulating quite a history for such a young man. Would you care to share with us what is going on?
I just didn't have the right people guide me in the right places, and I was trying to support myself the best way I knew how to.
That's out in the community, right? But what about inside the facility? Why? You got 1, 2, 3 tickets in one day, attempting to impede an impeding order, refusal to give a specimen, and security tamper. That was just this month. I have June 4th, 2024. That's not you?
I got only 1 ticket this month.
The rest for January.
Oh, the rest for January. I don't know why I wrote that. It's like, it's still this year.
Yeah, cause I
So
didn't.
here's my thing, Mr. Nunes. You don't perform well when you're out in the community. You're not performing well there in the facility. You have a ton of help around you to get the help that you need, but it appears that you're really just not taking advantage of it. Do you think you can do this all on your own?
Yeah.
Well, you haven't proven it thus far. And go ahead.
I don't think there's really a lot of help in here. I've been trying to get into programs and stuff, but they keep telling me I gotta wait till my ticket's clear. Like
You can't take programs if you get tickets. You have to change something, Mr. Nunes. You're being your own worst enemy at this point. You know, I mean, I don't know what it is that you're thinking that parole is going to do for you, because the minute that you refuse to give a specimen or, attempt to steal something out in the community, you're coming right back to prison. And they don't even have to you don't have to go before a court or anything. And I know you know that.
Yeah.
Did you know the victim in this case?
No.
So why was he under the impression that you knew who he was from the jail in Hartford?
I don't know.
So you just randomly picked his house?
Yeah.
Why did you pick his house?
Because that's how I supported myself.
How are you supporting yourself by stealing someone else's car? What were you doing? I mean, aside from joyriding, what else were you doing that was supporting yourself?
Selling stuff that
Selling
I
what?
find.
Oh, inside the cars?
Yeah.
Mr. Nunez, you were being an absolute menace to society when you were out there. And you have 3 years of probation to follow your sentence, sir. And in my opinion, you haven't done enough to show me that you are appropriate for discretionary parole. So I will not be supporting your request today. However, I would encourage you to utilize those 3 years of probation and try to develop some sort of relationship with your officer so that you can get some help. You're too young to be serving life in installments. You're going all around, in this little tri-state area, accumulating charges. And it's for no reason. There's so many things out there, there's so many programs and things that will help young people like yourself. You have no interest in education,
I do got interest in education. I want to finish and go to college. It's just
I thought that I read that you had no interest in finishing your GED.
I actually do. I want to actually go to college so I can better myself.
Good.
But it just sometimes being around wrong people in your cell, I can't really help that. So like it hurts. I know it hurts me at the end of the day, but I really do want to change. Like,
I hope you do. I really do. And, unfortunately, we have to make these decisions in light of public safety. And what you've shown us thus far, it doesn't vote in your favor. So what I would suggest is that you try to shift your mentality, your way of thinking, and remove yourself from those people who want you to do poorly. Surround yourself around supportive people who want you to do well. Because that's the only way you're going to change it. You're picking the wrong friends. So, all right. Thank you for speaking with me. I'm all set, Madam Chair.
Okay. Panel member O'Mary.
So, Mr. Jones, I was reading when the officer asked you what you did on a typical day in the community, and you said sitting home doing nothing. Now, why would you not be out looking for a job or finding something constructive to be doing?
honestly, because I really don't know how to go about it. When I was home, I didn't have my birth certificate or my socials, but I didn't know how to go about it. I was trying to ask the people around me for help, and I seemed like they didn't want to help me.
You were living with your ex-girlfriend's sister in Hartford?
Yes.
Was that a good place? Was that a stable place to be living? Or was it
No.
chaotic?
Yeah.
So your release plan says you want to live in a halfway house. You'll do any programs that are available, and you'll do any kind of work. So drill that down for me a little bit. When you say any kind of work, what work do you think you can do?
I was talking about like a salesman or work at like at Amazon. Probably working like a fast food spot.
Yeah, got to start somewhere, right? You have no work experience. So
Yeah.
places like the Amazon warehouse, all the fast food places are always looking for help. And places like, just went out of my head. Oh, Valvoline, places that do the oil changes, very, very open to hiring people who are on probation and parole. Probably might even find yourself a couple of mentors in a place like that.
Yeah.
And then, you don't have any support. So when we talk about programs that you think could be helpful, has anybody in the facility or when you were on probation, did anybody try and encourage you to attend any programs?
While I'm here,
While you were there, while you were on probation for that short period of time?
no.
No? They just said whatever?
Yeah.
Anybody talk to you about like the reentry centers that are out there?
No.
The AICs, getting a case manager?
No.
Okay, well, I'm hopeful. You have 3 years of probation to follow the sentence, that maybe some of that will help. Because you don't have any support, so you do need a structured place to start from. Okay, thank you, Mr. Nunes. I'll set that chair.
Mr. Nunes, the facility has reentry counselors.
Yeah.
And, talk to them, start today to get your social security number and your birth certificate. You should be able to walk out of the facility with those documents.
Yeah.
Okay. But, just Google it. Everybody does, to find out how to do things, so you can Google, how do I get my birth certificate? Do you know where you were born?
Yeah.
Okay, well, that's all the information you need. You know your mom's name?
I know it, but I don't know how to spell it.
Okay, well, they can help you with that. All right, give us just a few minutes, okay?
Okay.
So we heard from you, Miss Page.
Thank you.
Where are you?
Very sad.
It is really so unfortunate at his age. For me, the disciplinary reports are really what hold me back.
Mhm.
The fact that he is struggling to even comply with the very basic rules at the facility.
I wish I was seeing him doing something to help himself, like being in school and working on his GED.
Yeah, I'm sure the disciplinary reports are what are standing in his way.
But the irony is, if he had been doing that, he might not have had the disciplinary reports, the accumulation of them.
So his end sentence is 2026.
February.
The disciplinary reports hold me back from considering him for discretionary parole today. But I would be in favor of bringing him back with no disciplinary reports, maybe some efforts towards getting his GED, and drilling down a little bit more on his release plan, researching some places that he could work. I think the programs will come with either our recommendations or some help with parole, or help with parole or probation. He has a record. He's on this one violation of probation and conditional discharge. So if you look back at it,
I'm sorry, Mr. Nunez, is your mother's name Tarshia?
Yes.
Yeah. Why don't you ask for a copy of your PSI, her spelling? They won't get to that?
No.
Well, the counselor maybe can.
But we can help you with getting the spelling of your mom's first name. And your sister would know as well.
Yep.
You still in touch with Cheyenne?
No,
Okay. All right, so I could go along with that, but I'm thinking February.
2025.
That would afford him a year of supervision if he was granted. And we can't guarantee that because his behavior involved firearms.
And scores very high in the risk recidivate.
But if he improves his behavior, develops a release plan, makes a choice about getting a job or going to school there in the facility, maybe he can somehow get some verification if he did take those programs at NYI. Otherwise, he needs to take anger management again.
There's some mental health needs that could be addressed. It's got some mental things happening.
Yeah.
So I would be in favor of bringing it back.
Okay. So for today, the denial reasons are poor institutional adjustment, inadequate release plan, and
Inadequate evidence of offender change, or program participation and offender change.
okay. So,
Well, wait,
but you're denying, so.
no, I am denying, but I'm saying if he has in fact completed the programs and can provide.
Well, he got removed from the domestic violence program because of his DRs, and that's still on his OAP.
Right, but it's not because,
It's education and job. So,
but that's, education is not a program in domestic violence.
but they're on the OAP.
Yeah, I just wouldn't add I would say that there's inadequate evidence of offender change, but I would not go so far as to say inadequate program participation because he may have, is there more he can do? Absolutely. And I will note that in the written decision that he still complete the domestic violence program and his education. There's other things he can be doing in there too, something vocational, who knows?
Well, and a lot of times people get jobs by starting to volunteer.
Right.
So you volunteer as a cleaner and then they hire you into that position and then you can start saving. So, okay, so we're going to go with inadequate release plan, poor institutional adjustment, and inadequate evidence of offender change with a rehear in February of 2025.
And I just want to note for the record that he actually is still on probation with Rhode Island and that does not expire until February 15th, 2028, according to my record.
Yes.
Okay.
So when he goes out, he'll be on probation in Connecticut and Rhode Island. Concurrently. All right, so in the matter of Rianne Nunez Jr., inmate number 435755, there is a motion to deny parole today for the following reasons: your poor institutional adjustment, an inadequate release plan, and inadequate evidence of offender change. I further move to rehear you in February of 2025 with a recommendation that you develop a release plan, do some work on it, that you look to complete additional programs and or get in school and get a job there in the facility and not receive any additional disciplinary reports. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
This concludes the hearing for Ryan Nunes, 435755. Mr. Nunes, you'll receive all this in writing, okay?
all right.
All right. So good luck to you.
So as
All right,
part of that, as part of that release plan, try to meet with the reentry counselor to get some of that work done
Yeah,
on your social security and your birth certificate and start studying for your license, do all that kind of stuff.
yeah, I already talked to him. I gotta wait till I get a date for me to leave, for me to even start any of that. So I had to wait regardless.
Well, like I said, you can begin this effort on your own. You know, take some responsibility and start doing some work.
All right. Thank you for your time.
Okay, take care.
Okay, what did we just watch? Take some responsibility. It didn't seem to me like he was willing to take any responsibility. Do you think we're about to see him again? So do you think that he's gonna take things on, that he's going to come in as a whole new person, that he's gonna have taken his programs and not gotten write-ups and just ready to grab the world by the horns, jump in and get paroled and just go? Well, I don't know. Let's see.
Mr. Nunez, if you're in the room by yourself, you can probably pull down your mask.
You can take your mask off. Yeah.
Yeah, there we go.
Please state your name and inmate number for the record, sir.
Ryan Nunes, 435-755.
This hearing is being conducted in consideration of the parole application for Ryan Nunes.
Today's video is sponsored by Aura. Did you know companies can take months to report a data breach? On average, it's 277 days before you even find out that your personal data has been exposed. Think about that, 277 days. That means that your sensitive information, like your email, your phone number, even your financial details, can already be out there. Now, it's not just one company, but major banks and corporations, they've all experienced breaches in the past year. Maybe you've seen about it in the news. Your information could be compromised right now, and you wouldn't even know it. Now, that's why I use Aura. Aura scans the dark web and alerts me fast if personal information has been leaked. If someone tries to open a bank account or credit card in my name, I'll know right away. I have been using Aura for about maybe 9 months now. Something that they also do that really helps me a lot is keep spam callers away. That's a big bonus for me. They actually remove my name from those spam caller lists. Now, they also provide up to $5 million in identity theft insurance and a full suite of tools to keep you protected. And this is it's all done in one app. You can try Aura for free for 14 days at aura.com/Mandoo. And that's 2 weeks to find out if your data has already been exposed before you hear from a company months later. So why wait? Get some peace of mind and try out Aura for free. Take control of your digital security right now. And now, let's go back to the hearing.
435-755. He is serving a sentence of 6 years, execution suspended after 3.5 years with 3 years of probation to follow for 2 counts of larceny, second, stealing a firearm, and a violation of probation with the underlying larceny, third. As of today, records reflect a parole eligibility date of July 27th, 2024 at 50%. There's no victim input in this case. There is an offender accountability plan for the offender. It has been reviewed and shown he has not completed any programs to date utilizing the statewide collaborative offender risk evaluation system. The offender overall score SRT falls within the very high range or risk for recidivism. Mr. Nunez, this is your opportunity to express to the board why you believe you should be granted parole, sir. You may begin.
I highly think I should take parole because DOC made me think a lot about my actions, out to do my wrong, and how to change. I want to be a better person, a better man on the outside of these walls by pushing through positivity, involving myself in work programs, building with my family, and other programs the board has for me on the outside. I learned that my actions have consequences, and every day is a chance to reform for the better. I think I should have another chance of freedom to be successful in and complete my goals to be a better person.
Okay, Mr. Nunez, thank you very much for your statement. What's going to happen today, you've done this before, but what's going to happen today is that we're all going to take turns asking you questions. And then when that's done, we'll deliberate and then we'll give you our answer. Okay? I'm going to start with the questions today. Okay, so we're going to get to the most obvious stuff. Okay, you were here for a hearing back in June, right?
Yes.
And at the hearing, they said that they didn't think that you were suitable at that time, but they wanted to give you a second chance to come back before us in February. And they asked a couple things. They said that you should complete any positive programs, such as education or obtain employment in the facility, and then prepare a viable release plan, and then also refrain from incurring any additional disciplinary infractions because you had some before. So, in reviewing all the documents, I see that you haven't been able to do any of those things. And so, it makes it difficult for us, you know what I mean? Because they asked you to do a couple different things and you haven't been able to get those done. Can you just tell us what happened that led to 3 more disciplinary tickets since the last hearing?
Yeah, I had a colostomy bag, and medical was letting me go outside the cell because I have a cellie to empty my bag, and the COs, they didn't like me, so feel me, they thought I was using that as an advantage, but I was really needed to empty my bag because I had respect for my cellie because the bag really do stink, and so they just gave me a ticket and that's.
Okay, and then you have another one here though for Pruno, right? And yourself.
The CEO didn't even ask who Pruno was that, and they just gave me the ticket.
Did you have an opportunity to, defend yourself in that? Did they have a hearing? Did you just plead guilty? How did you handle it?
It was like, it's out of me going to SEG.
Yep.
Or just signing a ticket. I just didn't want to go to SEG. I just wanted to get it over and done with so I could get my ticket cleared so I can go do my programs.
Have you started any programs at all? Have you done anything on your own?
Yeah, I started to. I didn't start no programs because they kept telling me I'm on the waiting list.
Yeah.
But I just started reading books to better my try to see how to better my my anger.
Okay, well that's good. Can you tell me? Do you know the names of the books or anything about? Did you get the books in the library there?
Yeah, I don't know the names of the books. On the top of my head.
It's okay. What does it talk about? What kinds of things did you learn?
It talks about how different coping skills to make sure I don't get to that point to go crazy.
So what was going on with stealing these cars and everything while you're on probation? Why were you, while you're on supervision, continuing to be involved in criminal activity?
Because I had no source of income, and I wanted to try to get my ID so I can get a job, and nobody really wanted to help me when I was out there, and so the only thing I knew how to do was checking cars and stealing cars.
Okay. I mean, you know that's not going to lead anywhere good, right? You're just going to end up back here if you just keep doing that. How old are you? How old are you now?
I'm 23.
You're too old for this now, right? It's got to stop, And you have no kids, right?
No.
So that's really all I had to ask you, Mr. Nunez. My advice to you is that some of the problems you're having getting programs have to do with those disciplinary reports. So they go together. You understand that, right?
Yes.
So you need to find a way to get yourself to a situation where you can manage yourself in there so you get the programs you need before you get out, so that you don't come back in with all these things, okay? Do you have family that are willing to help you when you get out?
Yeah, my mom.
So before you steal cars or break into cars for money to get an ID or anything like that, go to your family that want to help you.
All right.
You know what I mean? Because you're just gonna go back and forth. Okay, that's all I have, Mr. Nunes. I'm gonna pass on to my colleague, panel member Smith Palmieri.
Thank you. Mr. Nunes, I was on your last hearing, so I saved my notes from that hearing. And I have some of the same questions now as I did then. So what are you doing to keep yourself busy?
I try to read a lot more, like a lot of different books, like science fiction. I watch TV. And I write down a plan. So if y'all do let me out, I will have a set plan. So I will have no reason for me to mess up.
Okay. So how's it going with your GED?
Right now I'm on the waiting list to go into GED.
You're on the waiting list to go into GED? How does
Yes.
that, tell me about that. What do you mean? You have to wait to go to school?
Yeah, basically, yeah. They said I wrote them and they wrote me back talking about I'm on the waiting list for education.
Are you doing anything on your own to prepare?
My main thing is really just learning how to be fluent in reading.
Okay. Okay, that will certainly, reading those books, that will help you. You know, it'll help you gain those skills for reading and reading comprehension, which will help you with the GED process. I guess also I want to just, I was going back and I was looking at your violation of probation. So your violation of probation is for a few things. It is for new arrest, right? So your new arrest out of Rhode Island.
Mm.
And it's for not going to treatment. And it's for testing positive. Were you supposed to attend treatment? Go to an AIC maybe?
It's too far back to really remember, but I just know that they just told me that I had a warrant, and so I don't know, I got scared. So like I didn't really want to come to jail because I have no support system and on the outside to come into jail. So I was kind of scared.
Okay. I mean, I can certainly understand that. I think, you know, you're young, you were even younger when you were arrested and younger when you're on probation. And I ask those questions because, you know, often, you know, you say, well, I needed to get my license and nobody could help. Well, if you're not going to probation, they can't help you with resources to get your license or to get into school. And when you go to treatment, yes, treatment helps with many things, but it also helps you figure out where you need to go in the community to obtain identification, to help with employment. And a lot of those resources are free, or they have other resources that pay for you to do that. So I'm saying all of this because, you know, you don't help yourself today by getting these 3 new disciplinary reports. And you haven't done with what we asked you to do last time, but you do have 3 years probation. Do you have probation with Rhode Island also?
Yes.
Okay, so you've got probation in 2 different states. So they'll combine it for one, but it's up to you on how you want that to go. At 23 years old, there's a lot of opportunities for you. Young people have a lot of programs available to them because they're young and because they want you to not make those rash decisions like, don't go see probation because I'm afraid. I don't steal a car because I need money. They're going to help you get into programs and figure things out so you're thinking forward about what the consequences are. Today you make it very, it's difficult. Did you do a domestic violence classes for a little bit?
Yes,
All right. Since your last hearing, or was that before?
oh, that now it's before.
Before? Okay. Okay. All right. So you said you're putting together a plan for when you're back in the community. Does that include how to get a job?
Yes,
Does it include how to go back to, about going back to school to get your
Yes.
GED? Excellent.
yes,
All right. And I'm hopeful that it includes some kind of treatment services. Probation will help you with that, but I'm hoping that your plan includes that as well. You have medical issues as a young person that you need to figure out how to manage for I don't know, for a while. So take advantage of what's available to you. All right. Thank you, Mr. Nunez.
Thank you. Councilmember Paul.
Mr. Chair.
Okay. All right, Mr. Nunez, we're done with asking you questions. So we're going to deliberate and then we're going to give you our answer. And just ask that you don't interrupt, but you can listen, okay?
all right.
Okay. Thank you. So Mr. Nunez is here for a rehear. Is asked to not get any disciplinary reports and complete programs. And he's done the opposite of both of those things. He's not done any programs and he's got 3 more disciplinary reports. He explained those tickets here today. But, he rates out very high to recidivate. And he's very young and still trying to find his way. So for me today, based on all the things that we discussed, and I just can't find him suitable. So for me, it's a denial.
Yeah, I would agree. I do, I think, as you said, Mr. Nunez is a young man. He has probation to follow this term of incarceration. He's had a lot of struggles throughout this term of incarceration, which have, been a problem, caused him problems with getting into programs, which he needs, I think, to have that foundation before he goes out to the
I
community
agree.
in order to be successful. So I also do not have him granted today for the new disciplinary reports and inadequate institutional program participation. I'm not even sure that we hear evidence of offender change. But
And I mean,
would be
offense was
open to that.
committed on probation. Maybe that's, I don't know. That's more important. Mr. Poe, what do you think?
I'm in the same place with suitability. It's just not there.
Okay.
It just as stated.
Yeah.
So, I had, more institutional adjustment, inadequate institutional program participation, and inadequate evidence of funded change.
Okay. Is that okay with you?
That's suitable, yeah.
Okay. In regards to Brianne Nunez, inmate number 435755, make a motion to deny discretionary parole based on poor institutional adjustment, inadequate evidence of offender change, and inadequate program participation. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, Mr. Nunez. Sorry, we could not grant you parole today.
Conclude the hearing for Ryan Nunes, 35755.
And for me, the most shocking thing about this entire hearing was seeing that he was surprised that he got denied. He puts his head in his hands, and it's like it's utter shock. And how is that possible? Is it that I just don't understand? Am I missing something where I don't know. It's like you just left speechless. I think what value we can get out of watching these hearings for those who are interested in understanding the system and the flaws and why certain things don't work. It's really important, I think, simply to see that there are some people that cannot help themselves. You can take the horse to water, but you cannot make it drink, and that is is the old proverbial saying, there's a reason for it, there's a meaning to it, right? Not everybody, I guess, can help themselves. And there's no matter amount of hand holding, there's no amount of placating, whatever it is, that not everybody can be helped. And I think that that's just the most simple answer for my takeaway. It's like people need to understand that there's not an answer to everything. He literally had, here's what you need to do. This, if you do it, you will get out. And he came in just with nothing. It's almost shocking. When Mike Pohl denies, you're like, Mike Pohl loves to grant, even when he can't find something to say to get you through. And he has probation when he gets out. And so he's gonna, and gosh, it's probably likely that he will end up back in prison sometime soon. One just has to assume that. And I don't know. I got nothing else to say. We saw 3 parole hearings. We saw the return of. If you want to see more return of, make sure to check out that playlist. Some of them are sometimes people do come back and really put in all the effort, and they earn their way to parole. And many times there's no effort put in. And what can you do? It is what it is. And with that, I'll let you go.
Going to talk to somebody, to be uncomfortable and talk about my feelings and be able to cry in front of them if something's bothering me, like I am now in front of you guys. I don't like doing this. I'm a man. I shouldn't, that's how, we're brought up to be, but I can't be like that. It gets me nowhere. I don't want to be like that. I'd rather be like this and feel it than not feel it.